Well, first of all, hey, welcome to the Yep, I Got You podcast. Today is going to be a great podcast. I am doing a follow-up on the last podcast, which was a fantastic podcast, and I think they're all fantastic because this is redneck wisdom pulled directly from the kingdom of heaven, the quantum realm, the divine realm through my own personal experience, being filtered down to you, hopefully that it becomes useful. And so this is a follow-up video with some practical advice, things that I've been struggling with. But hey, let's listen to some of that awesome intro music. I'll tell you a little backstory, getting this recording started, and then we will get into the podcast. Oh yeah, I love that loping music. I gotta find a way to turn that up a bit, but anyway, I was trying, and I'm still fairly new to this program. I'm finding it to be super useful, and the technical difficulties really lie with me just trying to figure it out and going between my desktop, which I love, and the laptop, which is a little small for me because I'm a big guy with big fingers and things like that, and it's a little more difficult, but I couldn't find the frickin' record button. I was like, I know I used this before. How come I cannot find the frickin' record button? And it's because I needed to expand the screen, and sure enough, I expanded the screen, and there is the record button. So, too funny, but we got there, and we're here. And hey, let me just say, if nobody said it to you in a while, I'm so proud of you. You're doing the hard work. I know if you're listening to any of these episodes, any part of these episodes, you're a person out there trying to do the hard work, trying to change your reality, trying to change the reality around you for the better. And I'm so proud of you. You're doing a great job. And if nobody's told you or giving you a pat on the back, here is your pat on the back. Good job. I so appreciate you. You are making the world a better place as you are dealing with your own stuff and trying to change the reality for better. Thank you so, so much. Again, this is the I Got You podcast. My name is Tombo Baldwin. I don't know if I've ever told the story of Tombo, but when I was young, I was a huge Rambo fan, and my friends just kind of nicknamed me that, and it just kind of stuck. So if you call me Tombo, I call you a friend, and so I so appreciate you. Hey, I just want to get into today's subject because the podcast, the previous one to this, I believe it's season 2, episode 39, The Moment, was a groundbreaking podcast for me in developing more tools to really change this reality. And if you haven't been there, I encourage you to listen to it. But just a quick summary, it's that time that you stop your brain from predicting the future. Say you're on your way to the grocery store. This is a real scenario for me. And you're already thinking about your parking spot, and you're already pulling into a lot, and you see a lot of cars, and you're predicting, I'm going to have to park so far away. Your brain is already anticipating. And what I've learned, and the moment is that you stop, and you stop predicting. You stop predicting the outcome and what's going to happen. And in that moment, and in that pause, you just leave it ambiguous, and you go and you do whatever you can to get to a place of peace and not predicting the outcome. And then you think about good things, lovely things. You think about the best parking spot, and you're just like, in my mind, this is how I'm practicing it. I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing. I got the very best parking spot. And you begin to render a different reality than what your brain was predicting. And the brain is such a predictor because in the past, and we still need this today, but not very often, that it's quickly accessing information and determining what's safe. And unfortunately, in our world, and the programming that's in our world, our brain has been trained to predict negative outcomes. And it's like Murphy's Law. If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. And so we are trying to rebuild the foundations and develop those tools that give us the ability to begin to create a different reality. And so the moment is a great podcast because it's that time. And if you read any like fantasy, like Scottish lore or things like that, they talk about like the time between times, like the time between the morning and the sunrise, and where the light's weird and it's an ambiguous time. And boy, I don't know why this mic seems to be cutting in and out a little bit, and maybe it is my position here, or maybe it's my headphones. Oh, yes, the headphone jack. It's not the mic. Sorry. Technical difficulties, but we're working through it. It's just weird in my headphones. But that time between times, and in the evening as the sun is setting and darkness is coming on, and around that kind of lore in those countries and in that culture, is when mystical things happen. And so I like to think of the moment like that, between your brain predicting and you're pausing and you're allowing the mysterious, the mystical, the kingdom of heaven, the divine to render a different reality than what your brain is determined and set on predicting. And it bases it on your programming, and so much of the programming that we've grown up in our culture is negative, so it tends to be a negative outcome unless you're one of those rare people. You had great parents and they always told you, man, you're the best kid, things always work out for you. Unfortunately, that is not the norm. But if that's you and you always pull in and you're like, I get the greatest parking lot space, I get the greatest deals, man, that's awesome. And you should have a podcast talking about your mindset to give the rest of us some tips and tricks. Well, the tips and tricks that I'm learning as I spend time, quiet time, in my chair, just trying to access, not trying, I am accessing the divine realm. And as I'm creating a new reality, which I totally am, and if anybody told you that it's a piece of cake, it's not. It does take some work, but it is possible. Reality is fluid, and we can change it. And there are some tools that help us, because our brain and our thoughts and our words are the hugest, if not the whole part of this changing our reality. And our words and our thoughts and our actions define the reality that we experience. And so I'm gathering tools and techniques to begin to help doing that. And so the moment was one of those things that I figured out, that if I can just pause, like when I'm pulling up to a stoplight, and just being like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen here. It's like, that light's green, but I have a ways to go. I'm not thinking it's going to turn red. And I can't tell you how many times when I just paused, that light stayed green. I wasn't even thinking that it was going to stay green, but I wasn't thinking that it was going to turn red either. It was the pause that did it in that moment. And so I want to expand that. I listened to a great little snippet on TikTok from Chase Hughes. Man, the guy, it's one of the people I recommend if you can listen to his stuff. It's really good. And he just talked about how our brain works. And one of the things that he said, and I really globbed onto this, is just look at around the room. And I was in my bedroom, and look at the closest thing to you. And for me, it was a lamp. And I looked at it. Lamp. And he's like, what did you do when you looked at it? And he actually had some instances on the screen. He showed like a triangle, and immediately it's a triangle. And one of the things that I gleaned from his little snippet there was really powerful. And I realized it totally fits in with the moment, the pause, that time that we have that we're just stop and we're practicing, and it takes practice, okay? Our brain is an incredible predictor, and it is always on. And so retraining it does take some work, and to get that pause to be any length of time does take work. So don't give up. Just keep doing it, because every time you do it, you gain a microsecond. You gain a microsecond to where you can actually pause, and then you can stay there, and then you can input good thoughts or good feelings, like even feelings like when I'm pulling up to a traffic light, even feelings like, wow, I'm such a lucky guy. Things just tend to work out for me. I'm not even focusing on the light. Because what I've discovered, and sometimes this is really important, but I actually like when the stoplight turns red, because it gives me time to think and ponder. Now, sometimes it's really inconvenient, and those are the times where I really am practicing the moment. And stoplights are great ways to practice the moment, because if you drive, most of you drive or are writing something that has to obey traffic signals like that, unless you're just in the big city and you ride mass transit and you don't necessarily have to deal with that. But most of us, it's a great time to practice the pause. And so what I'm doing now, and it's what Chase Hughes talked about, and when I listened to him, I started looking around the room, and I talked about this a little bit in the moment when I'm thinking about myself. And it's easier because when I think about myself, I'm a complicated person, and I define myself in a lot of ways. If you've been raised in this world, which you have, in this environment, most of us, when we think about ourselves, is pretty negative, unless we're a narcissist and we're really out of touch with the experiences that we've had in this world. But if we dealt kind of with our pasts and stuff, and we really are honest, we don't think that positively about ourselves. And it's like, who are you, Tom Baldwin? Well, in the past, it would be like, loser, deceive, nobody really knows who you are. If they knew who you are, they wouldn't like you. And, all the failings of the past come up. And if that's the case for you, that's a great place to pause and ask the question, who am I? And this is in a place of peace, and this is in a place of meditative state. Let that kingdom of heaven realm, that quantum realm, speak into you. And I know what it'll say. It'll say things like, you're a kind person. You give maximum effort. Your heart is good. Okay, we're not perfect, and we're not denying that we're a work in progress, but those are the thoughts that come from the kingdom of heaven and the quantum realm. The condemnation, the cutting down, the criticism, that is mostly you from your experiences. And if you believe in a dark realm, then some of that comes from that too. But in my experience, and I do believe in a dark realm, we don't even need the dark realm. We get so much from ourselves that if you believe in a devil or an evil or something like that, he doesn't even have to do anything, because we fill that in so much. So in that space, it's like, who am I? You pause, you take that moment, and you ask the question, who am I? Now, what is really cool, it's easier, I think, to do that aspect, to practice on ourselves, because the kingdom of heaven, the feedback loop that comes to us, is so positive, and it's so amazing, and it's edifying, and it's encouraging, and it really bolsters us, and it's a great place to start. In the place of objects, I'm finding this more difficult, but it is breaking the code. And if you can do this and practice this, you start to break the code that is constantly defining your reality. And I love Chase Hughes gave a couple examples, and I'm going to share that with you, and share some of my own examples of things that I hadn't experienced before that made me feel so alive. And it helps me a little bit. I've never done DMT. I'm interested in possibly trying a DMT experiment because one of the things that's described in there are things that are not describable. And the overwhelming sentiment and feeling that comes out of there is more real than this world. And I think this concept plays into it because the brain has never been there. It has no experience. It has no prediction material to gather from. So when it is in that experience, you as a person in this DMT experiences are immersed and are so present because your brain is not predicting things. There's nothing to predict because there's no frame of reference. So it feels more real than this world because in this world, our brain predicts. And so we tend to go on autopilot. And so if you've lived a lot of years like I have, sometimes it just feels a little mundane and you just like, I want to feel alive. But the brain's constantly predicting experiences and classifying and putting them away. And it says, okay, we're safe. We can relax. It takes away the moment of presence to really experience, to be immersed in the presence of a moment. And so when we pause the moment, we're stopping the brain from predicting. It helps us to be present. And when we can engage our emotions in that place, it changes the reality. It changes the experience. And so I think, and this is a little side tangent, but the people that are adrenaline junkies and they're doing things that are dangerous, it's because their brain cannot predict the outcome. And there's a possibility of death. And so the brain has no frame of reference as these incredible things are doing, like the flying squirrel suits or different crazy adrenaline things. The brain has no way to predict. And so these people say, I feel so alive when I'm doing it because they're engaged, they're 100% engaged. They're experiencing something new and it cannot be defined. So alive. I feel alive when I'm doing it. And those people, there's something deep inside of them. And I think it's deep inside of us. We're just not willing to take the risk. They have experienced that thrill of being alive and experiencing that. And so I'll just share with you a couple of my own examples of when I was younger. I did some really stupid stuff as young people do, and I'm not saying it's good, it's right. I'm actually, if you listen to this and you're a younger person, please don't do this. It's just an example to make the point, and I'll share some other examples that are a safer way to do it, and then the practice of what we can do and how we can get to this place where we're experiencing that real life, that presence, and that immersion and that emotion. Our brain isn't just predicting and filing it away. Okay, this is a happy time. And it's like, what? I want to experience the happiness and the joy around this. I don't want my brain just say, this is happy on autopilot. No, I refuse that. I demand to have the experience in its entirety. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the podcast. Now, a couple of experiences when I was young, for some stupid reason, I decided I was going to drive through an intersection. I saw the light was red, couldn't see the oncoming traffic. I was just going to close my eyes and go through. And I did. Now, thank God I didn't hit anybody. It was a stupid thing to do. I'm saying it right now. But I felt so alive. Now, another instance, and because I realized after I did that, I was really grateful that I wasn't dead and I didn't hurt anybody. It was stupid, and I never did it again because it was stupid. And thank God, yeah, I'm still here, and nobody else has left. That would be awful. I was up on, and I may have told this story on my podcast before, but I was up in a work van in the wintertime, way up this mountain road, and it was really icy, and I was trying to get to this property to look at a project. I think I ended up taking the wrong way, and I wasn't even close to the place that I wanted to go, but I went up this road, and I had another fellow with me, and it was super icy, and we decided I'm in the wrong place, and so need to turn around and go down. And it was to the point where the van, to turn around, I slid backwards into a ditch. I don't know how I didn't get stuck, and then I was turning to go down. It was super icy, did not have setted tires, and it was basically like a bathtub on a sheet of ice with a severe drop off. So bad that the fellow was with me. I saw him white knuckling, and I said, "Do you want to get out?" And he's like, "I want to get out." I drove that van down. I was so scared. Felt so alive. The adrenaline was incredible. My brain could not predict what was going to happen. I had no frame of reference. I had never done that before. It was unpredictable. Unpredictable things were happening. I have to say that Jesus was looking after me because I did make it down. But that adrenaline from that was amazing. It was was it scary? It was scary, but it's like, wow. I couldn't predict what was going to happen. Now, Chase Hughes shares this experience, and I have to agree because I've been there and watching my kids being born, especially the first one. It's amazing. And some of you may be a little grossed out, and you shouldn't be, because it's an amazing experience. And if you have the chance that your spouse is having a baby and you're able to be there and watch, when that head crowns, it's like, and you're watching the whole experience of the birth and, the incredible women that birth these children and what they go through. But you see that head crown, you have at least I did not, and being there live is something else, frame of reference. When that head crowns, your brain, and you are so present, and the emotions, like in me, the tears and the happiness and the joy that welled up and the excitement as I was seeing that head crown, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, just wanted to cheer on my wife. You can do it. You can do it. And then it goes back in a little bit, and then she pushes and it comes out, and pretty soon there's a baby crying, and you're just like, oh, wow. No frame of reference. Brain couldn't predict it. And I have to say, even having 6 kids, everyone was different, and the experience was amazing. The brain was trying to predict it, and it can't, because this is an experience. When it happens naturally, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you do. There's going to be a baby born, but you don't know how long. You don't know how many pushes. I never wanted to discover the gender because I wanted that experience. Something in me didn't want to know because I wanted to be surprised. That just not even knowing made me feel more alive. And you're like, Tom, I love what you're talking about. How can we get this? Simple tool. We're going to get to the tool, because the problem is many of us are just living on autopilot. And there's some security and predictability, in our job, in our day, and we just, our brain can relax. We know how to drive to work. There's something in me that just rages against that because I want to feel alive all the time. There's something in me that just says, live. I want to live. And yeah, I like comfort and security, but I love feeling alive. It's like I think so many people give up and are searching for things in the wrong ways because their life has just become a monotonous like routine and they don't feel alive. They have the stuff, the 100-inch TV, the nice car, the nice house, all this stuff. They have their income figured out, they have their budget figured out, they know how much they're going to spend on food. And all that is good and it helps us live good lives. But it's so predictable. Our brain has got everything, and we can even schedule our bills to be paid so we don't have to think about our bills, and we know our income, and it's like everything's filed, and the brain's like, got this, predicted this, da, 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 da. Where's the life in that? And so what we're doing is we're breaking that code. We're not breaking our lives and wrecking our lives because we don't want to do that. And I think sometimes that's the extreme, is that we do things that kind of self-sabotage. At least I have in the past for more than one reason, but I think one of those is to feel alive, to feel the excitement, to create my own crisis, because one of the things that I excel at is solving problems. I don't have to create a crisis to solve a problem. We've finally got that figured out, me, myself, and I. It's like we don't need to create a crisis, and we can still be a problem solver. And I've enjoyed that because I take on projects where things come up and I need to solve problems, and that has an outlet. And I have to tell you, that's when I feel alive, when I can engage. And it's like I couldn't predict when I open up that wall what I would see. And opening up the wall for me, like in construction, is like unwrapping a present. And if you don't wrap presents, you should wrap presents and kind of disguise it. So your brain can't predict it. And if you're somebody like me, my brain's a really good predictor. So you have to really disguise that present well, because chances are I'll guess what it is. But I love when it's wrapped and it's disguised and I have no idea what it is. And I get there because my brain can't predict. And I'm so in that present moment. And then it's just like, wow. And the endorphins and those things that we were designed from the kingdom of heaven to have are amazing. And you think about our brains and growing up in a more primitive culture, we needed that predictability from the brain because everything was unpredictable. And so life was just naturally exciting. But as we become more secure and stuff, almost everything in life is predictable. And so adding some unpredictability by not knowing the sex of your baby so you can be prepared, so you can buy the clothes. I loved having that little baby, not knowing what it was going to be, and even the newborn, having to go out and buy a few things or having friends bring things by because I didn't have it figured out. But I had community and I had friends and we figured it out. And part of the joy was figuring it out in the moment. Because life does get boring when you always have it figured out. And if you're that person, you're hearing this and you're just like, oh, Tom, that sounds like the worst thing ever. Give it some time. Feel that unpredictability and that feeling alive is amazing. And I'm not saying you're not feeling alive, and maybe you haven't lived enough life yet where, some things are more predictable than others. And so you like to get some things under control. And I guess that's okay. I loved having those newborns and I love seeing my community rise to the occasion to help me figure it out. Gosh, I'm almost in tears now, like, because I tend to like to control things, and that letting go and seeing how things worked out without predicting and controlling was so amazing. I didn't know who was going to help get clothes or diapers for the baby. We had diapers, but we didn't necessarily have a ton, and we didn't know what the sex was going to be, boy or girl, and so we had some onesies and those things. But seeing the community rise up, gosh, that was living life. So amazing. When our brain predicts everything, the kingdom of heaven or the quantum field or whatever you want to call it doesn't have a chance to take care of us. That field does. And that reality does expand. Because as we have community and we believe in our community and we've developed those relationships, those actions and those words and those friendships change reality. And so when you leave it unpredictable, reality becomes amazing. So let's get into the tool. I'm going to call this tool, what is it? And so I started looking around the room, and I would look at was a lamp. And my brain's like, lamp. I'm like, no, it's not a lamp. And I'm like, what is it? What is it? And I would try just to stay there. What is it? You know what starts to happen? Your creative juices, that kingdom of heaven stuff comes out and starts to eke. It's like, it is an illuminator. It is a light giver. It is a brightener. It is a contrast agent. What is it? It is so many things more than a lamp. The possibilities are expanding. I once listened to this science fiction fantasy series, and I wish I could remember what it was, but there were objects that looked like normal objects, but they were called uncommon, and they were uncommon because they had other abilities outside of what they looked like. And I love that because it helped me, and the kids and I often joke because we listened to the series together on a road trip, and we would look at things and it's like, I think that's uncommon. And it would just spur the imagination between us to this amazing expansion. And guess what happened? Because it was no longer predictable, because what we thought it was more than that. And so even with my kids, that became a moment where I experienced more presence, more life, because the brain then predicted, and we together joined in an unpredictable realm where the imagination expanded. And that's what we're trying to do with our reality as we look at things. I looked and I'm like, that's a chair. No, it isn't. What is it? Because we're trying to break the code. We're not trying to lie to ourselves. We're trying to break the prediction code to help expand our reality and the possibilities of our reality. And when we can allow the imagination to expand, what is it? It's a load lifter. It's a relaxer. It's a comforter. It's a place of conversation. It's a place of meditation. It's a hugger. You get what I'm saying? We're breaking the code. And as we do that, it's not just one thing. And when we do that to ourselves, we take ourselves out of this one-dimensional box we put ourselves into, and we become more. Who is Tombo Baldwin? I can tell you some things. Tombo's a father. He's a lover. He's a friend. He's a problem solver. He's a skilled contractor. He's an old soul. He's a mechanic. He is a listener to the divine. He's a podcaster. He is a community builder. Do you see what I'm saying? And then when you look at me, you've heard those different words. When you look at other people, the brain wants to classify them immediately. Oh, that person's, whatever. That person's, stop. Who is that person? Well, if you get to have a conversation with them, you'll spur great questions that maybe will even make a new friend. As you ask, who are you? What defines you? What are your passions? And you realize that your brain just predicted one thing from limited experiences. But when you say, no, I don't know who they are. And even expanding your imagination just as a practice. Oh, I bet they're a mom. I bet they're a wife, a spouse. They may even be a teacher. You expand, and it's not so important what the truth is. It's important that you break the code of the brain just going, boom, and then it classifies it, and it's gone. And you lose any experience around that thought because it predicted, classified, filed. Where's the experience? Scream, demand in your life the experience. Don't let the experience go. Stop the brain from filing away. Because when it files away, you lose the experience. And then your experience is relegated to the podcasts. And I'm not disking podcasts, but I would much rather have you have an experience and listen to my podcast. It's my passion. I want you to feel life. I want you to feel alive. I want you to experience things. Demand the experience. Don't let this practice will get you to that point where you can have those experiences. You can expand them into great experiences, especially with people. When you begin to ask those questions and not just assume, and never, and I'm so bad at this, and I'm getting better, okay? I'm not disking myself. I'm making an honest assessment. I'm getting better. Never, ever finish someone's thought. It is their thought. Allow yourself to be surprised. Anticipate surprise in their answer. Don't finish their thoughts. Don't help them find words. Stay in the awkward moment till they find the word to describe what they are trying to tell you, because they will get there and it will expand your experience, and your brain will start to learn, oh, I don't know everything. I'm kind of engage in this and pay attention versus predicting. When you finish somebody else's thought, you know you have a problem with your brain predicting. And when you look at people and you think you know who they are without asking a question, your brain isn't awful efficient. Probably not so good, maybe good, because, I doubt it, because you have no idea who someone is. You have no idea what their experiences is. You can't predict it. Like calling someone a jerk, which has been a bad habit of mine, you have no way of doing that because you don't know. You don't know what their experiences are. I mean, you can do it and you can call them a jerk, but you're probably wrong Maybe they had some bad actions due to some other things that have happened, but you have no idea that the life they've lived. In this podcast, I want you, and let's just say it together, we demand our experiences back. Brain, it's time for you to take a backseat. You've kept me safe, and you will continue to do this, but it's time for us to live life to the full and have the full experiences. My friends, I love you so much. You're amazing. Thank you for listening. And as always, I got you. I do. We're going to hit that exit music here.